Hello and welcome to the Traybakes and More Cooking channel. I'm Callie and today I've got another super simple tray bake for you. This is apple tray bake. It's just a very straightforward vanilla sort of cake mix with some apples folded through it. There's no cinnamon, there's no spice, the apple is the star here, and it's perfect if if you have a couple of apples at the bottom of the fruit bowl that you're wondering what to do with. Equally, if you're a big apple fan and have been apple picking like we have recently and you're wondering what to do with all the apples you've got, very simple, very straightforward, delicious just eaten on its own like this, or in a bowl with some custard or some ice cream. Makes a perfect dessert. Apple tray bake. Right, 2 quick points before I start talking ingredients. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 degrees centigrade in a conventional oven. Reduce your temperature if you have a fan oven, and prepare your tin. I'm using my usual 20 centimeter square tin, 8-inch square tray bake tin that I use for pretty much everything. That's off to one side, lined with a bit of baking parchment. And then all we're going to do is take the butter and the sugar, just regular unsalted butter and some sugar. I'm going to cream those together until they're nice and light and fluffy, just like we do for any sort of cake mixture. I'm going to beat through the egg. So in here I have my egg and a little splash of vanilla, half a teaspoon of vanilla in there. And then the flour. If you have self-raising flour, use self-raising flour. If not, plain flour, all-purpose flour with 2 teaspoons of baking powder and a little pinch of salt will work just as well. So we'll fold through the flour, we'll fold through the apples with a splash of milk, and then it goes in the oven, and you've got apple tray bake. Now, don't forget to scrape down the sides of the bowl, so you've got everything being included. Right, and the next thing I'm going to do is add the egg. Now, at this stage, if you're making a cake and you add some eggs into this, and if everything's not the right temperature, it might curdle a little bit, it'll look a little bit funky. If that happens, just a spoonful of flour mixed through at this stage will help to sort that out. So don't worry if it starts to look a bit funky, you can sort that out with a spoonful of flour. So I'm just going to add the egg, beat that through, and then fold through the flour. Right, so it happens to me too. It actually hasn't happened today. This hasn't curdled. It does happen to me sometimes as well. If things are all like at room temperature, then it does tend to go much more smoothly and will not curdle. So I have beaten the egg through the butter and the sugar. I'm now going to fold through the flour, and then I'll add my apples. Now at this stage you might be looking at this thinking it does look a little bit dry. Don't worry. When we add the apples in, we're also going to put a splash of milk in there. A couple of tablespoons of milk just to loosen things up a little bit. But here we go. I'll get my apples and a little splash of milk, and then we're ready to go in the oven. Right, before we get to the final mixing stage, just a quick word about apples. So I'm originally from Armagh, Northern Ireland, the Orchard County, where there are just wonderful, wonderful apples, including Bramley apples, which are my absolute favourite to bake with. But now I live just outside Boston, Massachusetts, and while there are wonderful apples here and wonderful orchards, you can't get Bramley apples. So if I'm making an apple tart or an apple crumble, I do try to get Cortland apples. They do break down, they're a little bit tartar. They are, pretty good for cooking with. Just not as good, but they're pretty good. Here today, what I actually have is a mix of eating apples, actually. And that's frequently what I use for this tray bake, is just some eating apples. If you have cooking apples, use them, please do. It will make me happy. If you don't, then some eating apples are just fine. And these come from a wonderful apple orchard here in Massachusetts. We have lots of wonderful apple orchards here as well. This comes from our family favourite. We were there a couple of weeks back picking some apples, Shelburne Farms in Stowe, Massachusetts. So just peel, core and chop up your apples. A variety of sort of chunks here, nothing too big. All I'm going to do is stir this through with a little splash of milk, a tablespoon or 2 of milk, just to get it like a dropping consistency, and then into the tin and into the oven. Right, so this is actually hard to see any sort of the consistency maybe of the mixture, but just want it nice and soft, nothing too dry, just looking a bit like this, and I'm just going to spread this into my tin now. Right, here we go, ready to go into the oven. There are 2 approaches you can take at this stage. Just put it in the oven like this, and then when it comes out of the oven, sprinkle some sugar over the top. That's what I'm going to do today, just some caster sugar or even some granulated sugar over the top will be fine. Or, and I've done this before as well, equally delicious, before it goes in the oven, put some demerara sugar over the top. What you end up with then is a nice crunchy topping to your tray bake. But either way, into the oven for 25 or 30 minutes, thereabouts, you know, just keep checking it. Keep an eye on it, maybe after about 20 minutes, just keep checking. It should be nice and golden. If you want to test it with a little skewer, there shouldn't be any sort of raw cake batter sticking to your skewer. But there we go with our apple tray bake. Right, here it is, out of the oven. Beautifully golden on top, smelling delicious. I know I said 25 to 30 minutes sort of for a bake time. Mine took more like 30 to 35 minutes today. So with all these things, just keep checking on it, keep an eye on it. It should look beautifully golden on top, and if you put a skewer in there, it will come out free of any sort of batter or mixture. So always check those sort of things rather than just sticking to the time that it says in a recipe, even my recipes. So I'm just going to leave this to cool in the tin. Don't lift it out yet. I'm going to sprinkle it with sugar in a minute. Let it cool in the tin, cut it into squares. But there you have it. Super simple, very easy apple tray bake. So keep an eye out for more recipes. Subscribe to my channel, tell your family and friends, and I'll see you again soon on Traybakes and more.